everybody, and welcome to our brand new spanking baseball series presented by State Farm right here on opensports.com. I'm Sid Rosenberg, and we've got a lot of exciting stuff coming to you this baseball season with a hard-hitting show 3 times per week. We'll start today with insurance runs, where I'll be joined by some of the best baseball minds around to discuss the hottest topics in the game. And for the very first edition of Insurance Runs, presented by State Farm, who better to have on the program than my good friend, one of the all-time great Sports Illustrated, MLB Network, mic'd up on WFAN in New York, all that good stuff. It's my dear friend, Jon Heyman. Jon, how are you this afternoon, pal?
Very good, Sid. How are you? It's great to be here with you.
Thank you. It's great to have you. The very first show, to have you here means a lot to us. And again, can't say enough about your baseball knowledge. So let's get right to it here, Jon. Manny Ramirez, that was the big bombshell last week, suspended 50 games. The Dodgers now without him. Do you think at this point, Manny has to apologize to his teammates?
Well, I think he should apologize. He obviously made a big mistake. He's apologized to the owner, so he should apologize to the teammates. I don't know why he's been so reluctant to do that. I did see it took him 3 days to apologize to the owner, so eventually he got around to that. So hopefully it won't be more than another 3 days before he apologizes to his teammates.
I seem to think, and I could be wrong, correct me if I'm wrong here, Jon, that even without Manny, still along with Alex Rodriguez, the best right-handed hitter in the game, between their pitching and their other players, the Dodgers can still hold on to first place in that division until he gets back. Agree or disagree?
I think that they will. They have a lot of good young players. Their pitching has been better than anyone would have thought. I thought they had pitching problems when I saw them in spring training, and their pitching has been pretty good so far. They have great young offensive talent, even without Manny. And they've got some good veterans, too, there for Cal. Blake with the home run against the Giants yesterday. I still think they have the best team in that division. I know some of the other teams are starting to think, well, maybe they have an opening now, but I'm not sure how big that opening is.
All right, next story. Albert Pujols, Jon, is always off to a blistering start with the St. Louis Cardinals. Is he the last clean slugger, and would it surprise you if Pujols wasn't?
I'm not ready to declare anybody clean. I just don't know, and I'm not picking on Albert Pujols. It could be anybody. I've been burned enough here. My guesses have been bad enough in the past. 104 guys failed that test when they knew it was coming. It's hard to imagine who thinks they're going to beat the test now. And we're not getting a lot of failures, and I'm hopeful that most everybody is clean now. But to declare somebody clean or always clean, I'm just not going to be able to do that at this point.
When they're at their best, Jon, who's a better hitter, Albert Pujols or Alex Rodriguez?
Oh, wow, tough call. Probably Pujols. I'll give Pujols a slight edge, I guess. He has been spectacular consistently. It's close. I'd say A-Rod's got a little more power, though.
Fair enough. Right, let's talk about the New York Mets here. Jon Heyman with us again on Insurance Runs, brought to you by State Farm right here on opensports.com. Mets have a 7-game win streak right now. Jon, just swept the Pittsburgh Pirates over the weekend. They struggled earlier in the year. What are the Mets? Are they the team that struggled early on, or the team right now riding that 7-game win streak?
Well, probably somewhere in between. I think they should be good enough to make the playoffs, though. I know there's some questions in that pitching rotation. I know there's some questions about how they're going to do in the end. They haven't proven they can beat out Philadelphia, but they have enough talent on that team that they should be a playoff team. Nobody probably has a better first 5 than them in baseball with Johan Santana and K-Rod. If you're going to take 5 great players on any team, I'd say them with Beltran and Reyes and Wright. They've got 5 great players to start that team. That should be good enough to be a playoff team.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I was on ESPN 1050 up in New York last weekend talking with Seth Everett, and he talked about the Mets being flawed. And I'll say this, Jon, who's not? The Marlins, not nearly as good in the rotation outside as Josh Johnson as we thought. Certainly the Phillies are not very solid after Hamill's at the top of their rotation. And the Braves have their issues as well. So the Mets may be flawed. My question is, who's not inside the NL East?
I think you're right, and their relief is much improved, and their lineup is very, very good. I still think Philly's probably got the best lineup in that division, but their pitching questions go way beyond what the Mets' pitching questions are right now. With Hamill's suffering from different injuries so far, and the other guys just not great. The case could be made that the Mets are the team to beat. Now, I picked the Phillies, so I'm probably not the one to make that case, but I do believe the Mets are a playoff team, or better be one this year.
All right, let's talk about some managers here, Jon. I know you just wrote about that, CNN SI, about Bob Melvin getting fired and, kind of the similarities between Bob Melvin in Arizona and Clint Hurdle in Colorado. The Rockies just beat the Marlins yesterday, so maybe Hurdle gets a stay of execution. But is it Hurdle? Who could be next on the firing line?
That's the way I see it. I think he's on very shaky ground right now. I know the Rockies have been talking about it. He has survived some scares in the past. He obviously has a lot of loyalty from his GM, Dan O'Dowd, who likes him very much. Hurdle is a good man, and he's certainly very entertaining. I know from the World Series and the playoffs coverage of him a couple of years ago, seems like a great guy. Strategically, he's not the greatest. I think they've known that for a while. And right now, the team has not played inspired ball. He just had a very similar career to Bob Melvin. They've just kind of run parallel careers out there with some big moments, particularly both in 2007. Young teams that have fallen on a hard time since. And, I think Melvin had a good relationship with his GM, Josh Burns, as well, and time finally ran out on him. And I think we're getting close on Hurdle here. He's going to need a very quick turnaround, I think, to save his job.
All right, last one. You spent half the year in Miami, half the year in New York, and I think Yankee fans are convinced that another bad year out of Joe Girardi. He won't be back for year 3. Is Girardi, in fact, on the hot seat this season?
I would say that he's going to get the season. I don't think he's going to get fired during the year, but if they don't make the playoffs again, I do believe that he will be in jeopardy. I think he knows that. He has said that. They made it every year with Joe Torre, and now missed with Girardi last year. I like to say another bad year. They probably would say, well, they won 88 games, and it wasn't that bad. But not being in the playoffs is a bad year for the Yankees, so they better get to the playoffs.
Agreed. So there it is. There's John. And by the way, John all over the place out there. You can follow him on Twitter. Just follow John at @SI_Jon Heyman. And that is going to do it for this very first edition of Insurance Runs. John, I want to thank you so much. It was an honor having you on as our very first guest today. Thank you so much.
Sid, you're the best.
Thank you, pal. Jon Heyman, that is going to do it once again. Make sure you come back Wednesday for Fantasy Whiplash, where I'll be joined by Will Carroll of Baseball Prospectus. On Friday, we'll go down on the farm to check in on the hottest prospects in the minor leagues. For now, I'm Sid Rosenberg. We'll see you next time. The future of sports on the web is open.